Welcome back to the Seth Said It Show. I am your host, Seth Mills, and today we're going to be talking about what nobody really talks about when it comes to reinventing yourself. Everybody talks about the exciting part, the comeback, the glow up, the new era, the motivational quotes, gym selfies, and the big announcements. Nobody talks about the uncomfortable part. Nobody talks about how weird it feels when you don't fully recognize your own life anymore, or when the version of yourself people got used to isn't really you anymore. And honestly, I think that's where I've been lately. Not necessarily falling apart, not at rock bottom, not having some giant crisis, just changing. And I think changing quietly is one of the loneliest things that a person can experience, because people around you still expect the old version of you to show up, the version that they're comfortable with, the version that they understand, and the version that they built expectations around. But inside, deep internally, you've already left that version behind months ago, maybe even years ago. And now you're in this weird middle ground where you're not who you used to be, but you're also not fully who you're becoming yet either. And it's a strange place to really live mentally. And personally, I think one of the weirdest parts about reinventing yourself is realizing most people only know a certain version of you, especially if you've spent years building an identity around something, whether that's being in business, social media, being the funny friend, reliable, ambitious, reckless, or the always busy one. And people get attached to patterns. If you have a friend, you didn't just see them one day and say, oh, I'm going to make them my friend, unless it's still, and if you're in high school still, obviously. But you saw something you liked about the person. You saw that they repeated it, and that's who they were. And you attached yourself to them. People get very attached to patterns. And the second that those patterns change, people get uncomfortable. If your friend used to be reckless and all of a sudden they're this very by-the-book person, obviously something changed, and it's going to make you uncomfortable being around them because it's not the person that you really knew. And it's not that they're getting uncomfortable because they hate you or they want bad for you, but it's because as humans, we're wired to like consistency. People like predictable versions of each other. And the second that you start changing directions, slowing down, becoming quieter, thinking differently, or protecting your peace more, people start asking you and saying you've changed, or why did you change? What happened? And sometimes they do mean it negatively. But honestly, I think one of the best things that can happen in your life, or some of the best things that happen in your life, require you to change. Because if you stay the exact same person forever, you're probably not growing. You're not growing as an individual, and you're not trying to achieve anything more for yourself. So I think that social media has also played a huge part in ruining people's understanding of reinvention, because it looks very cinematic. People post that they got a new apartment, they're in a new city, they've worked on themselves, and they've got a new body, or plastic surgery these days, which I do not agree with. They've started a new business. They're in a new relationship. There's new aesthetic around them. But real reinvention usually looks pretty confusing. It looks a lot like uncertainty, silence, just disappearing for a little while, and those people are questioning everything. And realistically, my biggest thing with reinvention is losing interest in things that I thought defined me, the things that I thought that I would do forever. And honestly, it's just a lot of versions of yourself that you genuinely thought would last forever, and versions that you built your entire identity around. And then one day you wake up and you realize, this doesn't fit me anymore. I need to change. I need to do better for myself. And this can go either way. This can go in lifestyle changes. For instance, if you vape or dip or anything like that, and you choose that it's time to quit, which I have been going on 3 months. Actually, yesterday was 3 months. The 16th was 3 months of not touching a vape. And so that's a very good life goal and good thing that I did during this process, because I have been going through this reinvention phase for quite a little while. I'd say the better part of 2026, and I've been staying to myself for the most part. Just lost a few friends, just people leaving my life, and that's okay. I don't wish bad for them, but I will say that a few of them stung a little bit more than the others. Not sure really what went wrong, but it's just people reinventing themselves, and that's what I'm living by, because I've been doing it for 6 months now, or going on 6 months. But that's a topic for another time, probably next week. So tune in if you want to, not drama, if you want to hear drama, but tune in if you want more backstory on that one. But it's hard because people still expect the same version of you that they met 5 years ago, 3 years ago, hell, 6 months ago. People still expect that same version. And I think people talk a lot about outgrowing other people. Nobody talks about outgrowing yourself. They talk about it, but I don't think they talk enough about outgrowing yourself. Outgrowing your own habits, your mindset, your priorities, your own definition of success. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, when I was 15, what my definition of success and priorities were, I can promise you they didn't even envision owning your own business, much less selling a business and exiting a business. So my definition of success 10 years ago was owning a Lamborghini, because I didn't know better. I mean, what are we all doing, right? We all have this version of success in our own heads, in our own mindset. And I think that's where people quietly get stuck, because deep down they know they've changed, but they keep forcing themselves back into old environments and old identities because it's familiar. You go out to the bar with your friend, they pull out, for instance, a vape. They pull out a vape and they start hitting it. It's so easy to say, hey, let me see that, and go right back into the old environment, go right back into the old habit, because it's familiar. You're used to it. And familiarity is comfortable, even when it no longer fits. And this doesn't just go for bad habits or anything like that. It also goes for everybody around you. Comfortable people, it's familiar, even if it no longer fits. And I've personally realized lately that sometimes growth looks less like becoming somebody completely different and more like becoming more honest about who you already are. Less performing, less proving, less chasing validation, which is a big one for me because I used to chase validation everywhere I went, and less trying to look successful all the time. A lot of people love to shine their fancy Rolexes, their new trucks all over social media, and I've been guilty of it. Materialistic things do not define how successful you are, but you got to find more peace within yourself, more clarity on what you want, what you really want. What do you want in the future for yourself? That's what you need to start chasing, and more honesty with yourself, because we can all sit here and say, oh, I don't have bad habits. Everybody in the world has a bad habit, whether it's vaping, cigarettes, dipping, drinking, biting your nails. Everybody has a bad habit, some more severe than others, yes, but everybody has bad habits. And we got to be honest with ourselves to be able to break those bad habits. And at least that's the goal, right? The lonely part about reinventing yourself is that not everybody understands the transition, because either they haven't gone through it or they've gone through it way, way before you are. Like years ago, they went through it. And also, some people only know the version of you that benefited them, because let's be real, everybody, I don't know that I know any friendships that haven't benefited from one another, whether that's a materialistic thing or just the companionship or whatever it may be. You are a benefit to those around you, whether you realize it or not. Some people only liked the chaotic version of you, the constantly available version, the people-pleasing version, the entertaining version. And when you start becoming more grounded and more selective, more self-aware of who you are and who you're hanging around, certain relationships naturally fade. And that does suck sometimes, because even when it's necessary, loss is still loss. You still lose friends. But I also think part of maturing is understanding that not every friendship, relationship, or season is supposed to last forever. That's why they call them seasons. and seasonal friends, seasonal relationships. They come and then they go. They come and then they go. Some people are chapter people, not lifetime people. And that does not automatically make anybody bad. I'm not saying that anybody's a bad person just because they're a chapter person or because they haven't gone through what you have gone through, because it doesn't make them bad just because they haven't gone through what you've gone through. It just means that y'all are two different people with two different goals, and it's okay to lose some people occasionally. It's okay to outgrow people. I don't think that I have reinventing yourself fully figured out yet. Honestly, I think that I'm still in the middle of it. But what I do know is that the weird part about reinventing yourself is eventually realizing you can't keep becoming who you're supposed to be while holding on to every old version of yourself at the same time. And that goes to holding on to old friends, old habits, old memories that you have with certain people that you wish you could go back and recreate, but you just can't. And it's unfortunate. And you have to move on, and you have to let certain things go at some point. Whether that's old habits, mindsets, relationships, expectations, sometimes even old dreams that you had when you were a kid or teenager, or even old dreams that you've had more recently within the last year or two. And maybe that's not failure. Maybe that's growth. Maybe reinvention is not about becoming somebody fake or completely new. Maybe it's just about fully and finally becoming honest about who you actually are. And honestly, I think a lot of us are trying to figure that out right now. If you liked today's episode, please tune in for next week. We're going to be touching on several of these topics that were already discussed in this episode, and I would love to see you guys there. I do appreciate everybody who downloads. If you haven't already, hit the like button or the follow button, depending on what platform you're on. Turn on automatic downloads. Whether you listen to it or not, it greatly helps out the channel and the podcast. So I do hope you guys enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to hear you guys or have you guys hear me next episode. It will be coming out next week. Thank you guys, and I will see you then.